We've received a complaint about treatment.
We want to get a clearer picture of your involvement.
Am I under investigation?
So for season 2, we return with a new cast, except for our investigators who continue. And in terms of the process of finding the story, I had always wanted to set something in the world of psychiatry because I had specialised as a consultant in psychiatry when I was a doctor, and I think it lends itself to drama nicely. I wanted to do something that was quite different tonally from Series 1, where we were in A&E. I wanted to do psychiatry in Series 1 and shoehorned it in with the addiction element because I kind of feel like all medicine has a sort of mental health aspect to it. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Doing Series 2, I wanted to set it in psychiatry.
I remember reading it, but I can't remember. I think just my agent, and there's this show, what do you think? Here's the script, have a read. I was actually shooting something else at the time, so I was in Tenerife, so I can remember exactly where I was. I went and sat on this table and I just didn't move for about 3 hours. And to be honest, I carried on reading, but after about 25 minutes around my agent, I was like, I want to do this, 100%. Grace's writing just has such kind of humanity to it, while also having this, funny saying this when she's sat next to me, but it's true. But like humanity to it, and like the drama in it is incredibly well structured, but it's the empathy within the writing and the smartness of the writing, and the fact that it kept twisting, but in a way that didn't feel cliched or predictable, and it's got such a comment to make about quite a lot of different things, but does it in a very clever way that's hopefully not too kind of, I don't know, just there's a subtlety to it, and I think therefore that will allow those comments to land. I just thought it was an incredible piece of writing. Yes, and I was I hadn't actually at that point seen season 1, so I was literally going off the first 25 pages of the script. I was completely and utterly in from the get-go. No, there weren't really any particular standout moments that I was like either looking forward to or dreading, really. The beauty of the part was that everything felt kind of in its place. And so I kind of looked at it as a piece as a whole, almost like an album as opposed to a collection of singles, you know. So it was kind of mapping out that whole journey. That in itself was the thrill, to be honest.
The good thing about being a doctor in the UK is that you do lots of different medical jobs. So to write about different specialties, I've done a bit of obstetrics, I've done A&E. I don't need to do much research from a medical point of view. And we also have advisors who are currently practicing. I think the thing that I worry about is that my medical knowledge, gets out of date quite quickly, and it's been a couple of years since I've done kind of acute medicine. So we have advisors who double check all of the stuff for accuracy, which always feels a bit like having my homework checked. And fortunately, medicine doesn't change as much as I had expected, so it's all still makes sense. I mean, for me, Malpractice is an opportunity to show the other side of medicine. I think there are lots of shows that have doctors as these kind of quite glamorous heroes dashing around saving everybody's lives. I think what Malpractice does is shine a light on the really, like, the day-to-day pressures of doing the job and the real experience of what it is to be a junior doctor. I think particularly working within something like the NHS, there are so many things that you're trying to juggle at any one time. And now that I'm not a doctor, I often think I don't know how myself, how friends, we cope with that. You start when you're sort of 24, 25, and you're already responsible for people's lives. And I think, what Tom did so brilliantly is show how this pressure just keeps piling up on you, but you just keep going and trying to do your best. And I think, that's one of the main things about Malpractice that makes it special.
Your risk assessment was wrong.
We have a problem.
You have no idea who you're dealing with. the closer that I get to the truth, the more they try to stop me.
I didn't actually grow up watching a ton of film. So like my youth was like very much kind of climbing trees and listening to music, you know, and so I kind of never, throughout being an actor, that being my job, which still feels slightly unusual that it is, but it is, and I love it. I kind of never, I didn't start off with an outside-in idea of what I felt like performances needed to be. For me, it's very much about the kind of the psychology of the character, very much about finding their rhythms, finding the animal, if you like, and thinking like, what's this person in this unique situation going through? And so I try not to work from the outside in. You know, there are certain structural things that obviously, you know, as a doctor, I need to know those things. You know, if you're playing a piano in a scene, you need to learn how to play the piece on the piano, whatever it may be. But aside from that, the rest is quite rhythmical for me. Everything kind of comes from that, and I need to find that rhythm. And I think that's why it was such a gift to have Grace there, because I could pick up on certain, obviously look, this isn't autobiographical, but Grace would have been through circumstances that are similar at least, and I could kind of sense things, and I try and do all the intellectual work before you're on set, and then it kind of needs to be kind of more of a subconscious kind of, animal thing, I guess. Rhythm. It's all about rhythm. It has to come from the right, and everything starts with that. And so I think having that template to kind of build from, and then having the fact that Grace, you know, has the wealth of experience that she does have of literally doing the job that James is doing, Grace kind of became my everything really in terms of my way into it. There's obviously a ton of other kind of more structural research, if you like, about certain things. You know, there's an obligation on whoever's playing that part to make it authentic, and it needs to resonate. And people who are psychiatric doctors or any other kind of doctor, it needs to feel tangibly real, and otherwise it's going to throw them out of it. And actually, this is a story for whoever wants to watch it, but it's very much a story for those people working in the NHS as well, I think. And so there was that expectation. I put that expectation on myself, obviously. But beyond that, the more human side, if you like, of the experience of being a doctor, particularly being a psychiatric doctor.
I always have ideas. Yes, if ITV are wanting to make another series, then they know where to come. I will. Yeah, I mean, I think being a doctor, as I was saying earlier, when you start your profession, you don't specialise in the UK immediately. So worked in lots of different fields, and there are so many different stories potentially that could be told about doctors. So yeah.